It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host, Smitty. Be sure to go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. Go check out the description of the show. We've got Everything Custom Designs Facebook link. You can get some customized Around the 412 clothing, like Smitty is ripping right there. And you can also get a customized tumbler. Smitty is going to be getting a customized Around the 412 tumbler. I want to get one as well. That way we can both show them off on the show if you're watching over on YouTube. But go check that out. We got Everything Custom Designs Facebook link in the description. And you can also check out At The Cut. It's our first sponsor, our longest sponsor, above my head over on YouTube. Keeks Barbershop at 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA.
Yep.
Right? There it is. 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Download The Cut and schedule a haircut appointment with our friend Christian at Keeks Barbershop.
There you go. Or, we always talk about having to make appointments. You can just walk in. Tony and Ashley there as well. But yeah, the best way to ensure, if you want to go plan ahead of time, which I am somebody that very much has to plan ahead of time or I'll go nuts. The Cut is the app that you would download to book an appointment at Keeks Barbershop. Again, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2.
Before we get into Pirates real quick, I know it happened with football on our football podcast, but this is going to be the first podcast that comes out this week. So I just wanted to recognize, how cool was it that they showed our clip on ESPN?
Yeah, it's funny. So I was recording Afternoon Drive yesterday when it happened, when everybody started hitting me up, tagging me that it was happening or whatever. I had 5 texts and I had 10 people mention me on X, and I'm like, what's going on? Why's my phone going crazy right now? And then I saw it and I was like, oh wow, that's dope. Again, Tyler made the joke at the beginning because it didn't actually say Around the 412, it just said on the podcast. But it was cool. It did say via Around the 412 in the corner, gave us that recognition and stuff like that. And then following that, I've been talking to Dan Orlovsky, hopefully making it happen for him to come on the show as well. He said he's down. We'll see if it happens. But that would not obviously be on the Around the 412 Pirates show. It'd be on the Steelers one. But he's somebody that I've definitely always respected their work. I think he does a good job of kind of marrying the two, simplifying it enough for the casual fans while also bringing enough data and stuff like that for the people that are into the advanced stuff. So I just think he does a good job of blending the two together. So hopefully we're able to make that happen. But yeah, if you missed it, the reason that was the case is we had Pat Fryermuth on the Steelers show last week. So go check that out if you haven't already. And speaking of Everything Custom Designs, Around the 412 merch, we're sending him a little care package. So he's going to post a picture for us rocking the Around the 412 merch when he gets it. Look forward to that. If you haven't, again, be sure to go check out that episode. But hey, that's not the only thing good that's going on in Pittsburgh right now. The Pirates are playing some really good baseball to start the season. Let one get away today. Unfortunately, the day that we are recording this, Martin Perez was awesome for 8 innings in his first start at home since becoming a Pirate. But David Bednar, his 3rd blown save of the season already, probably the one I would say worrying part to me so far when you look at the season. And, long term, I'm not necessarily worried here. I have full faith that he's going to be able to get back to the level that we've seen him pitch at. But in the short term, I would not be surprised if within the next 48 hours, we're looking at him going to the IL. I think Colin Holderman's set to come back on Thursday. I just think it makes sense. I'm not saying anytime that a guy is performing poorly, it's because, hey, he has some type of injury and needs to go on the IL. But it's just so uncharacteristic. It's not like he's just getting hit hard around the yard or anything like that. He does not walk people. He's walking people. He hit Javi Baez on a pitch that wasn't even close today. That curveball is just sitting way too high. It's just, I think something's off with him. And it's probably from coming back from that lat injury that really limited him in spring training. So the Pirates are playing really good. We can get into that, but I just wanted to first and foremost, let's get the bad out of the way. David Bednar, who this team is obviously going to be relying on heavily here this season if they do have aspirations, has not been very good out the gate. And I think a lot of it is due, again, to injury causing this performance.
Yeah, he missed a good chunk of spring training, which I saw a lot of people bringing up on X today. I know that could definitely play into it as well. Didn't have those types of repetitions that he would have normally going into a season. But in this 2024 season so far, He's appeared in 5 games, and in those 5 games, he's blown 3 saves, has 1 save, but in 4 1/3 innings, has given up 6 hits, 6 earned runs, a home run, and he's also hit 2 batters on the season and walked 1 guy. That's very uncharacteristic. It's not a stat line that you have seen from David Bednar. I mean, you just look at it compared to his previous years in his 2-time All-Star years. It's something is off with him, and so I don't want to be too hard on him. And he's a guy that has deserved a longer leash. I actually saw Jim from North Shore 9 say that. Obviously, he has a different leash. He is a guy that has deserved and has earned a longer leash, especially from the fan base. And listen, I just want to get this out of the way too by talking about it. If people want to boo, they can boo. If fans want to fan however they want, they have the right to do so when they buy that ticket. But I will say, like, I'm not going to be that quick to really turn on David Bednar. I think that it's kind of ridiculous to do it that early, if I'm being completely honest. And I understand it's a terrible situation. I get the fans are probably emotional because you did get 8 immaculate innings from Perez, all to be blown away in that 9th inning, and for that start to be thrown away. I get the gut reaction, the emotional knee-jerk reaction from the fan base. But, I mean, come on, guys. This is a guy that has been a great reliever, great closer. I mean, we were very close or very open about we don't really care for the closer role, but like if they're going to use him in that role, he's been great at
the highest leverage situation.
Exactly. And so I actually appreciated what Rowdy Tellez said, kind of defending him today. It shows what kind of teammate Rowdy Tellez is. So cap tip to him, coming to the defense of his boy. But it's frustrating from a fan base, but not necessarily just because he lost the game. It's frustrating to see someone that I'm a huge fan of, a Pittsburgh guy too, struggle in his outings. And so I hope that they do get something to right the ship. If he does go on the IL, I hope that helps him, because this is a guy that they're going to need to rely on. He's one of the strengths of the team and was a strength of that bullpen. They're going to need him to continue to win these games. They're not always going to be able to rely on outscoring these teams like they are. They're going to need to shut down some guys or shut down some teams. So I think that moving forward in those leverage situations, I think that you have to go to Aroldis Chapman. Because
that's what I was just saying.
He has shown that he has been very good in this early part of the season at shutting down guys. I mean, just the other day, he came on with 2 on and 1 out, and he struck both of those guys out, the last one looking. I think that from here on out, if you're in a high leverage situation or in the quote unquote closer situation, you got to go to Aroldis Chapman and leave Bednar out of it, because he's got to figure out his stuff before you can move back to him, in my opinion. And also, I will say, hindsight's 2020. If you wanted to leave Perez in there, that's fine. But I agree with taking Perez out when they did, regardless of what happened in the 9th inning, because he had already thrown 100 pitches. It's April. You don't need a guy to wear out his arm this early in the season, too.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight, obviously, people are going to be like, oh, I should have just left Perez. But, like, if Bednar doesn't blow that game, nobody's talking about. Like, no one would care that he was pulled with 100 pitches. So, yeah, but I'm in full agreement there. That's what I was going to bring up next. If I said in the long term, I'm not worried about David Bednar, but in the short term, I would not have him in that. Even if he's not going to go on IL, I would not have him in the role that he has been in for a little bit. Let him reset whatever's going on there. If it's not injury related, figure it out, because you have Colin Holderman that's going to be coming back. Mlazinski's getting closer. He just had his rehab transfer to AAA, so we'll see when he can get back. But I think that you can get by, like, with what this bullpen has shown you. Thankfully, you've created some depth there to be able to get by. Jose Hernandez just came back up too, who I've really liked. If Luis Ortiz and Rawanzi are going to be relievers, like, I think you have enough arms within that bullpen to be able to get by. You just can't keep throwing Bednar out there and feeding him to the wolves with what he's giving you right now. So that's the bad. But the good here, even with today's loss, the Pirates sitting at 9-3 going into the next series as they travel to Philly for a 4-game set after a day off today. So I look at this and sure, it sucks. They could have been 10-2 going into this 4-game series, but I think you could also make the argument that previous game on Sunday probably should have lost.
Oh yeah.
The way that they came back to win that game against the Orioles, wild stuff. So, that it's a 162 game season. Weird stuff's going to happen for better or worse for your favorite team. So unfortunately, this is a rough one to see them lose yesterday afternoon to the Tigers, but they probably should have lost on Sunday to the Orioles as well. So it all balances out. But yeah, when you look at, the Marlins series, played really good baseball, that carried over everything. Like the home opener obviously wasn't great against the Orioles, losing 5-2. But then to win back-to-back games against the Orioles, the series against the Nationals, obviously taken 2 out of 3. They've won or split every series that they've played so far, which is great. So going to Philly, though, it's going to be a tough test. This is, I think, one of the teams that we expect to be one of the better teams in the NL. Obviously, not off to a great start, just 5-5. But you look at what they're going to see in this series. Ranger Suarez versus Jared Jones lined up as game 1 of that series. Bailey Falter versus Christopher Sanchez for game 2. And then I don't see any probable starters for the next 2 games. But it would be, you would figure, Gonzalez and Keller for the Pirates. I'm not sure about the Phillies. I just wonder if we're going to see or miss Zach Wheeler. That's probably my biggest question for that Philly series, because he is he's the number one, I think, regardless of what Aaron Nola's contract is. I know they just extended Wheeler again, though, anyway. But Wheeler's the better player. So, but yeah, I don't know. Early returns on the Pirates season. They've obviously at 9-3 been better than I think that we thought they were going to be, even with somewhat, I don't want to say high aspirations, but we both had them above 500. I don't know where I thought they would be at this point, but I have, it's hard for me to be upset, even with dropping this one in the way that they did, starting out 9-3. I guess that's really what I'm getting at here with this long form dialogue that I've gone on.
100%. It's hard to be upset. I think if you look at this team and where a lot of people would have expected them to be, I mean, the description before this team or before the season, we talked about it. People were saying it's going to be a fun lineup, but they're just not going to be very good. The pitching's not there. I think the starting rotation pitching has been much better than I expected. And I think that's saying something, because I expected it to be pretty awful. And also, Bailey Falter, I apologize. I was not familiar with your game.
Well, here's the thing. That was during day 1 of WrestleMania. So I wasn't paying attention. So I think we found out. I just have to not pay attention to the Pirate games when Bailey Falter pitches.
Yeah, there you go. That'll work. And those 2 games on Saturday and Sunday were also the 2 comeback games against the Orioles. And that's another thing. That's another thing that gives me confidence in this team. Even though it's so early, we've only played 12 games. We are literally 1/16th into the season. I think that in years past, a Pirates team is not going to come back from those late inning games. I think that
that game where they came back, the first series when Bailey Falter gives up 5 runs in the first inning, the Pirates.
Yeah, there's no way that they come back a few years ago.
Yeah,
they just they would turn over and turn heel. I think that this team has shown that they've got a lot of fight in them. The lineup definitely does. The bats are never going to go to sleep in a game. They're at least going to be always swinging, even if they're not hitting anything. They're just going to be continuing to swing. But the way that they are able to crawl back in some of these games, that's something that years past Pirates teams are not doing. And so, while, yeah, it is early, but there's a lot of things in this 12 games that give you confidence for an entire season. I understand that it's going to have runs here and there throughout this season. It's 162 games, but you're seeing things early enough now that can give you confidence that, hey, whenever we get other pieces coming up to the MLB level, this team can continue to be pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's chomping at the bit. Obviously, Paul Steen's up here. You mentioned the rotation, how they've pitched. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Mitch Keller, right? He's had a couple games where you've kind of been wondering what's going on with him. I didn't think he was bad in his last start. What game was that he pitched against the Orioles?
That was
or no, was he just the first game against the he just pitched the first game against the Tigers. Never mind.
Yeah.
What am I thinking? Which he gave up 2 runs, 5 hits through 6 innings, 9 Ks, 3 walks. I think the walks is probably the part that I've been raised the most concern through the early part of this season because they just weren't there last year. But that's a solid line overall, though. I mean, I feel like you take that every single time, especially as opposed to what he looked like in his first 2 starts against the Marlins and Nationals. So hopefully he's turned a page and we see that version of Mitch Keller more often going forward. But yeah, once you can inject Paul Skeens into that, like, man, I don't know. I'm excited. I know we're only 12 games into this thing, but there's just like you said, I feel like there's just a noticeable difference. The timely hits that they're getting, they're not giving up until the final out. There's just things that I feel like the 2024 team has done already to kind of prove that they aren't the same team that we've seen the last few seasons.
Also, I know it's only 2 games, but how about Joey Bart? Like, been a good addition for the Pirates.
Yeah, my dad was wondering. He's like, how come it didn't work out for him in San Fran? Wasn't he supposed to be like the guy after Buster Posey? And I was like, yeah, but he can't hit. Like, he's really good defensively, but hasn't been able to hit. And then he hit a home run like in his first at bat. And my dad was like, I thought he couldn't hit. I was like, okay, it's 1 at bat. Like, relax. Talking about a small sample size. But no, I mean, he's fit in well. We'll see. It sounds like Jason DeLay's injury is much more significant than I think that we anticipated. At least I'm not sure what the feeling was in the room or anything like that, but they're talking like 60-day IL potentially for him, depending on what the second opinion is for him. And then Yasmani Grandal working his way back. I think I saw today that he was doing some base running, so we'll see when he's able to get back into the fold. But yeah, I mean, I think you can do a lot worse than Joey Bart as your backup catcher to Henry Davis, which, kind of going, I don't want to continue to be negative with this conversation, but I would say that's probably one of the more, I don't know if I want to say concerning, but disappointing parts to the early part of the season, that like Hank Davis's bat has not come north with him from spring training, at least to this point, which I'll say is a bit different for me than Kutch, because I think the same could be said for Kutch, but at the same time, very limited spring training, similarly to Bednar for him. Like, he really didn't get rolling because of his Achilles until late in the process. Henry Davis was tearing it up all spring training, just like O'Neal Cruz, but that bat just hasn't come north yet.
Well, that, and I would say with Kutch too, while you would like him to be like the DH every day, he doesn't necessarily have to be. And Henry Davis, as of right now, and what's shown in this early season, he's going to be your go-to starter at the catcher position, and he's going to be starting the majority of the games this season. If that's going to be the case, then you would like to see that bat start to get hotter, because currently right now he is batting 156, his on base is 293. You'd at least like to get the on base above 300. But he's had his early struggles at the plate this season. Another guy that has had early struggles this season too with the bat. And I'm mainly looking at the guys that have been playing pretty much daily and not just the platoon guys. But your home run leader, Jack Suwinski, has struggled a little bit with his bat as well. A lot of strikeouts in this early season for a lot of Pirates, actually. O'Neal Cruz, 17 strikeouts on the season so far. But he's
a lot of walks though too for the team.
A lot of walks though too. But yeah, Jack Suwinski is the only, I would say, the 2 outliers when you're looking at the lineup, or the average everyday lineup when it comes to their bats, are Suwinski and Davis. Everybody else is around 250 or above.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, that kind of plays into what I was saying. Like, if you're able to put a more formidable group together 1 through 9, the line of protection that it provides for guys like T. Brian Hayes, Bryan Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, those guys that you're counting on day in, day out for that production. I mean, man, I don't know. I think that's why a lot of people like us were at the very least thinking that the lineup would be much improved, if nothing else. But you're getting the pitching to at least be able to give you enough for this team to do its thing. And like I said, win 9 out of their first 12 games going into this Philly series. I don't know if there's really anything else to discuss here.
Jared Jones did have another good start in his debut. Even though the Pirates did lose that game, I still think that he had a good.
See, I didn't watch much of it, so I didn't want to. I'll take your word in the box store for it, because I was not around that day. But in that game, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, both solo homers, right? I believe 7 Ks. Any walks? No walks. Okay. Yeah, that's the big thing. So he had 2 in his first start, which again is like, I don't want to say it's good, but it's fine. Like,
It's his MLB debut.
Right. Well, also like compared to what I had expectations for. It's because he is a guy that can be a little bit wild at times. Like you just take the good with the bad with him. That's just the way that the stuff is and it plays. But for him to have no walks through 6 innings, yeah, I know he got tagged a couple times. I can't remember. Was it I think Gunnar Henderson got him. I can't remember who hit the other homer. But either way, yeah, definitely another good start. Actually, based off I mean, he went longer in that game, gave up 1 less earned run because even though he came out before all 3 runs were scored in Miami, he got charged for all 3 because he's responsible for the runners on base. So,
yeah, he's pretty good.
You didn't have that same. Did you watch that full game?
I did.
So, but it probably didn't. Even though, like I just said, like the box score reads a little bit better, probably. I feel like it didn't seem to have the same pop as that first debut.
I don't think it didn't have the same pop because of 2 things. The first one was definitely the debut, so it's going to be a little different feel.
The first one was the first one. Yeah.
First one's the first one. But secondly, he hit double-digit strikeouts in the first one in less innings pitched. I feel like that is something that is just going to pop more, especially to a fan base. But still, having 7 in this game in 6 innings, that's still great work. 17 strikeouts through two outings in 11 2/3 innings pitched. You take that every day of the week. I think he's done a phenomenal job since being up here, and he is really turning into one of your top end rotation arms early in the season. Like he's definitely at minimum your number 3 guy right now.
I feel like he is somebody that like people are excited to see. Like the fact that he started the home opener in his second start is crazy, by the way. Like the Pirates don't typically bestow that honor upon a player so young in his career. So that's really cool. But I feel like he himself, like he's a draw for Pirates fans. Like if Jared Jones is starting, I feel like that's a game that people want to go to more than just like your average Pirate game.
Especially the female crowd. I saw a lot of people swooning over him.
Big into the chest hair, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I literally saw a TikTok dedicated to that. It was talking about Jared Jones and how baseball was back because Jared Jones was pitching.
There we go.
And it had nothing to do with the actual pitching. Had to do with the flow, had to do with the chest hair, the buttons being open, had to do with everything outside of the actual sport. Just the guy. And I'm all for it.
Which by the way, if you were interested, it's a very old interview. Not sure how much of it is still relevant. Jared Jones' first podcast appearance after being drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates took place right here on this YouTube channel. So if you search our name around the 412 Jared Jones, it will pop right up. Actually, even if you go to the playlists with our athlete interviews, it will be there as well. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. It's from 2020. Very different version of Jared Jones at the time. He's sitting on his back porch, short hair. I'm not sure if the chest hair was coming in yet at that time. But yeah, different version of Jared Jones on that interview.
Different backgrounds for us too. Lots changed in 4 years.
Well, I mean, I was just sitting over there as opposed to right here, but
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else Pirates wise. 9-3 Pirates go to Philly to take on the Phillies before they travel to New York to take on the Mets before coming back for a home series with the Boston Red Sox, which I believe I will be at 2 games in that series. So looking forward to that weekend. But yeah, anything else?
Nope. Let's go Bucks. Still first in the National League.
Still first in the National League. So obviously first in the division. Let's actually just real quick take a peek around the division. 9-3 Pirates, 6-3 Brewers, 6-4 Cubs, 6-4 Reds, 5-6 Cardinals. The betting odds favorites to win the division currently in the cellar.
I saw at one point, like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, the NL Central was the only division in Major League Baseball that did have or that had no losing record teams. Obviously, that's not the case.
Thanks for ruining that, Cardinals.
Cardinals are a bunch of bums.
Yeah, thanks for ruining that. Ruin everything. All right. Well, anyway, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here on YouTube. Probably. Devil magic we always talk about. Follow us everywhere at Around the 412 on all our social media platforms. You can find us there. If you are listening somewhere else that is not YouTube, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Check out the link in the description. Everything Custom Designs, our friend Haley Wagner's small business. She made this bad boy for me. If you are watching on YouTube, black shirt, Around the 412 logo in gold. Pat Frymuth is going to be rocking this in the very near future as well. So if you want to match me, and also a little less importantly, match Pat Frymuth, hit up Haley Wagner, Everything Custom Designs, and get yourself a shirt just like this. Also above Tyler, and going across the bottom ticker, Keats Barbershop, located at 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. They've been our sponsor pretty much from the jump. So download the app, The Cut, and book an appointment with Christian today, or that you can take a walk-in with Tony or Ashley. They all do great work over there. Old school vibes. Again, Keats Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. For Tyler, for myself, this has been the Around the 412 Pirates Show. Go watch another video popping up right now, and we'll see you guys next week.